Hi, I'm Anvitha Bomaneni, a second-year pharmacy student, and today I have the honor of sitting down with Dean Kelly Smith, the official host of the UGA College of Pharmacy's podcast, PharmCast. Welcome, Dean Smith.
Thank you for having me. I'm pleased to be here, and thanks for being part of this.
Dean Smith, can you tell your audience a little bit about what PharmCast is and what you hope to accomplish?
Absolutely. So PharmCast was started many years ago by a group of really inspired PharmD students who wanted to bring to light ongoing issues and from the lives of students. Then Dr. Tim Brown said, that's great. Let's build on that and talk about healthcare and how pharmacists contribute to the healthcare team. Well, in this particular iteration of it, we're going to focus on the stories, the people behind what we do here in the college. Now, I'm going to consult my cue cards, as any good host would, to make sure I hit the highlights, though. We certainly want people to understand who's leading and shaping the fields of the work that we do in pharmacy and pharmacy practice, in science, biomedical sciences, and education. And really what we're going to do, we're going to have people, I guess kind of like me even, who are going to talk about their work, their careers, their experiences, and what got them to where they are today. So yeah, maybe I'm going to be the host for most of these, but it's felt kind of awkward and weird for me to be the host for myself. So again, thanks for rising to the occasion and offering to serve as the host for this kickoff episode.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm very excited to be here, and I think we all want to get to know the host of PharmCast a little more, so let's get started. Dean Smith, while you were at the College of Pharmacy here, you've had 3 different roles over your course, your journey. You were a student, you were an alumnus, and now you're the dean. Tell us what that's been like.
Well, it's been everything I dreamed of. It is in many ways, but there's so many things I've learned about along the way. It was not something actually that was ever in my career path and my career journey, but it's been so fulfilling to have the chance to experience the different slices of life that make up our College of Pharmacy. I can relate to students and the journey and the challenges they've been through, but the opportunities that lie ahead for them. As a former faculty member, I can certainly understand that at another College of Pharmacy, what people in the trenches are dealing with. And the few times I can get in the classroom now, I get really excited about that. But certainly what's most inspiring for me as dean is seeing the success of everybody around me. That's what really makes me tick and gets me really excited. And so having that perspective on just all the great work that's happening here, I love it.
So how exactly did you find your way to UGA, and more specifically the College of Pharmacy?
Well, I grew up in Statesboro, Georgia, so shout out to Bullitt County, down near Savannah, and was not necessarily raised to be a pharmacist, so definitely that wasn't my career journey. I was one of those kids that was always a good student, but didn't really quite know where I wanted to put it all together. I did have the opportunity to come to UGA during some high school summer experiences, and I started to learn more about health professions and sciences and how really pharmacists can be like the ultimate detectives and problem solvers. And something about that really appealed to me. So I had the chance to speak to a pre-pharmacy advisor here at UGA. He told me all about what pharmacy could be, and I was hooked. Now, I wasn't really, again, groomed to be a pharmacist, but I was groomed to truly be a UGA Bulldog fan, courtesy of my father, who's a graduate of what is now the Terry College of Business here at UGA. So I knew if pharmacy was for me, UGA was going to be the spot for me. So I set out and said, all right, UGA, here I come.
So you graduated from the College of Pharmacy, did a residency, took a little detour, but then found your way back to UGA. Tell us more about that.
Yes. So back then, this does take us back a little bit. I completed a bachelor's of pharmacy degree. And then I really found out that I wanted to be somewhere involved in the patient care, direct patient care world. And so I knew I needed to do my PharmD. So I did that here at UGA as well. And to do more, I found out that drug information was really where I wanted to be, because I was going to be that person who maybe was behind the scenes, but was helping other clinicians and pharmacists take care of their patients better by providing them guidance and advice that they couldn't find readily, predating what was the advent of the internet. So that was my passion and field. So I prepared for that by completing a drug information residency down in Jacksonville, Florida, at what's now called UF Jacksonville. And then I had to figure out what am I going to do with my career. So I went to the ASHP mid-year meeting, which was the place to go find what was considered clinical practice position opportunities back then. I interviewed with maybe 20 different people. because I still didn't quite know what I wanted to do. And I started to be drawn to positions in what was thinking of academic medical centers. So large hospitals that had formal drug information centers. I want to kind of be in the thick of all that. Mm-hmm. And I found this one position that just seemed to really work for me. It happened to be at the University of Kentucky. I'd never been to Kentucky, so I didn't quite know a lot about the place, but I had the opportunity to visit. And it was a bit of home away from home. I do remember asking one question. I said, do you have sweet tea in Lexington, Kentucky? And I was told I could find some sweet tea, so I had to have that little piece of home. Got that little nugget, and so I set out to become a drug information specialist at Kentucky, at the University of Kentucky Hospital. Little nugget, I didn't realize then, I was the second full-time clinical pharmacist there that was not a faculty member. They'd have this huge tradition of really kind of developing clinical practice. And they were the home of drug information, and I was going to be one that was going to be on a slightly different trajectory. But I was willing to take the chance. They took a chance on me, and it was a great start.
Obviously, clinical pharmacy is a little different from what you're doing right now, and there's a lot of different paths that one can take in pharmacy and in pharmaceutical sciences. How did you decide to make that shift from that to being dean and going more into the academia side of it all?
I have learned, and this is something I really recommend to students, whatever program you're in, you've got to be open to the insight and the questions and the prompting you get from others. I shared with you, number one, didn't know I wanted to be a pharmacist one day until I was opened up to some questions and some conversations there. I didn't really know if drug information was going to be for me or working in a hospital. Eventually I found that, and others gave me that great input. What happened in this case was, as I started to do more things, people said, hey, you seem to have a knack for this. You have something about it. You're focused. You're able to execute and bring things to resolution, but you're able to convene people and help shape where things can go. So we're going to tap you on the shoulder for a few different roles. Now, I could have said no. I could have said, I'm comfortable, I don't want to do extra work, or I wasn't trained to do that. And that was my first inclination. But I got involved with our state affiliate for ASHP. I got involved with our residency program. Suddenly I was asked to direct our PGY1 residency program. I never saw that for myself, but others saw that in me. And so as each opportunity would come along, I would sit back and think, well, if you think this is something that I can do, and I'd ask those around me and I can provide value, then maybe I'll give it a chance. And so that led to different roles, and to be a faculty member, being a tenured faculty member, directing residency programs across the state and fostering their development, getting involved in national organizations. And then finally, I'm an assistant dean of student affairs. I'm an associate dean of academic and student affairs. And then one day I'm an interim dean. That was one of those mind-blowing moments. Never saw that one coming. But again, understanding that maybe others saw some value in it and I was doing it to support the success of others, that worked for me. And so I was willing to give it a try.
So you've had a lot of different positions and a very long journey reaching your current position as Dean of UGA, and you've been holding that position for about 7 years now. What would you say is your greatest accomplishment during your time as Dean?
Okay, so I'm not a parent, but I'm guessing this is like picking your favorite child. That's not an easy thing to do, Anvitha, but I'm willing to give this one a shot here. So, I think what it is, underlying it is building connections. When I came back and was interviewing at UGA, as a graduate of this program, I felt connected, but not as connected as I wondered other alumni if they felt that way. Let's think about academia and college. I'm going to kind of turn the tables in this case. It'll be a little bit about you. Okay. But 20 years down the line after you graduate, perhaps some of the faculty that you know today and have really made an influence on you won't be here anymore. Are you still going to feel connected and grounded to the college? And so I really wanted that to be a sense that regardless of as people come and go with their tenures and contributing to that there's an affinity that our graduates can have for all of the work that we do. So that was one of the first things I focused on when I came here. And so it's connecting our alumni to what's happening. And a lot of that is telling stories. letting people know what's happening behind the curtain in the day-to-day life of the college, but also highlighting the great work and accomplishments of our students, faculty, staff, and alumni. And yet, even things like podcasts. And so that's something that I've really focused on, because we want this to be a place that people can come and start their careers. If they're students, they can go on to anywhere and be successful. But if they're faculty and staff, we want them to stay here and to be successful and grow. And so to see that really come along and really bear out fruit, to me, again, feels like the best accomplishment possible.
Now let's flip it a little. What would you say was your greatest challenge?
Oh, there have been many. And as anyone would say in a position where maybe there are others that work with you, they could probably highlight them more deeply than one can themselves. For me, I will say, actually, it was starting out as dean. I had a great affinity for the college. Number one could say the smallest challenge, but at times it was a big challenge, is finding enough red in my wardrobe. I worked at another SEC school up north, and red was really banned. It was not seen as a very positive color there because of a rival in-state. So I had to really kind of rebuild my red wardrobe. Able to do that. But more importantly, and certainly more seriously, I started my role here as dean while I was also president of a national pharmacy organization. Those are two great career opportunities, but talk about a lot of time commitments and a lot of things happening simultaneously. And in both roles, people really want to spend time with you and see you and get to know you. So being able to kind of share myself and share in both roles effectively was a really big challenge. I certainly tried to use it as an opportunity here as dean to shine more of a spotlight on UGA. And really, as I had the opportunity to travel for ASHP, then I found alumni all across the country. And so that was a great way to really reconnect. But if I'd had the chance to really kind of dive in and meet with everyone on a one-on-one basis and have coffee every day with everybody, that would have been fabulous. Not the reality, but really trying to see things as opportunities is what I've learned when it comes to challenges like that.
So over the course of your time here, of course, you've had multiple new memories. You've had a lot of new experiences. What would you say was the greatest surprise? Something you didn't see coming.
Surprises. They come every day. Sometimes they're positive. Sometimes oh, I really didn't see that one coming. That's unique. But I will say something that's really uplifting and gratifying. And, I mentioned earlier about the power of connections and having people feel affinity for the college and feeling a part of what we are and the work that we're doing. I think the work that we continue to do to tell our story and tell the stories of the people here, resulting in us catapulting in our U.S. News and World Report rankings to number 15, actually kind of caught me aback. I knew we would, if people just knew more about us, they would see the great work. But as we continued the great work and continued to let people know, kind of shining a light at what's happening here, others would recognize that. That was a great moment.
Is there anything that you look back on and think, I would have done that a little differently, or...
There are going to be things always, let's admit it. That's what we should be doing as professionals, is constantly thinking about how we've performed, what lessons we can learn from that. And so there are moments where I'd say, okay, next time, if there's a decision I need to make, here's how I'm going to handle it differently. But what I really think about is the power of authenticity. And so as people ask me to define my leadership style or what I do, I always try to go back to think about what is natural and innate for me. If I try to act like what someone else thinks I need to do, or how I need to behave, or the emotions I use or the actions I take, then suddenly I'm operating from a spot of really a lack of a rudder. And so truly knowing what's important to me and learning and developing, that's to me what I'm constantly focused on. And so again, it's not getting mired or grounded in the past, but looking ahead and always growing better in my decision making, in my vision, in my words, and in my deeds and actions.
So what would you say are your aspirations for our college?
Oh gosh. Okay. They're great. They're numerous. But again, I'm going to go back to what I remind our teams all the time about why we exist. We are privileged to be here and to prepare generations of students, preparing generations of really faculty and staff who will go on perhaps to other roles at other institutions and share the UGA banner. And so we have to remember what our calling is. For most of us here that are faculty and staff, it is that education, but it's grounded in the professions of pharmacy and biomedical research and pharmaceutical sciences, health outcomes, policy, and everything in between there. So it's focusing on that and understanding where we can make great strides moving forward. So I'm really excited about several types of things here. Number one, I'm excited, although sometimes frustrated as a pharmacist, that still our profession isn't quite where we want it to be when it comes to providing and taking care of patients. But I'm excited that our faculty are continuing to develop new and innovative ways to do that and prepare our students for that eventual reality. I'm excited about where then our college can be part of what UGA's growing aspiration is in rural health. Certainly when you look at our state and where many of our students will go on to practice, pharmacists are generally the most accessible healthcare professional you're going to find in any community. How can we embrace that? How can we make then pharmacy be healthcare destinations and hubs? And then we want to make UGA then the healthcare destination for students. You may not want to be a pharmacist one day. You may want to go into medicine. You may want to go into dentistry and other fields. You need to be looking at our bachelor's program. We prepare really some great students in some small group settings with some really advanced skill sets. And I'm pleased that as I'm around my fellow deans, they say, your students are excellent. We'd love for them to come to our graduate programs and other things. That's what I want UGA to continue to be with the College of Pharmacy, starting here and going anywhere, especially when it comes to human health and future health professionals.
So if you could offer any advice to our fourth years as they graduate and start to enter the workforce, what would you say?
I'm going to build on your question.
Okay.
I'm going to use the dean's privilege for that.
Okay.
And do it beyond just fourth year students and
Okay.
say for any of our graduating students, whether you're at the bachelor's degree, the master's degree, you're in a minor or a certificate or a PhD. This was a mantra that I developed over the course of my time in the classroom, and I learned from someone who was a mentor of mine. I heard him give a presentation about his career reflections, 40 years in the ranks, and he said it just in passing one time in a student presentation about how important it is, you should always be learning about new technology, new career things, and I heard the words, always be learning. And it hit me. That is what the fundamental is of what we're doing as professionals and scientists. We should always be learning. Now, when I graduated, I thought I knew it all. I thought I had this career plan. I was going to be a drug information pharmacist for life. And when that wasn't really always the case, I'm like, well, I'm going to be a drug information pharmacist. I'm going to start in Kentucky, and in 3 to 5 years, I'm going to come back to Georgia and be a drug information pharmacist. Well, I was a drug information pharmacist, but not always, because then I graduated and kind of then morphed and developed into this academician and administrator. I eventually got back to Georgia, but I found so many things and I learned so much about myself. So you should always be learning and always be open to the opportunities that come from outside. They may not always resonate. You may not always be successful every day, but you learn from them those times when you got to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and move ahead.
That was wonderful advice. It's such an exciting time to be here as a student, and I'm really excited to see what the future holds. Now let's switch gears a bit and get to know you a bit outside of the College of Pharmacy. When you leave, what do you like to do to relax? How do you unwind?
Okay, so here's the struggle. The struggle is real, as some people would say. It's a bit for me. It's turning my brain off because I'm constantly thinking about what are the opportunities ahead, and also reflecting, as I said, the power of reflection and how we can continue to grow and develop ourselves. So I do like to detach. I'm going to admit it. Now, I'm introverted and shy, that combo naturally. So you're not going to find me out and about with large groups of people, and that's the way that I get recharged. Actually, for me, it's retreating a little bit. It may be something as simple as like, I need to read a little bit, and it's not going to be the New England Journal of Medicine. I'm sorry, that's not the way I recharge. But it's probably going to be fiction. It's probably going to be a thriller or a mystery, something like that. I also like to color. There's something powerful about that. And I realized that years ago when my nieces were young and I would visit them and I would get down on the floor with them and do things with them and coloring. And I'm like, what? And then they would walk away and here I am still coloring. And so, there's something in that because it's just that little source of creativity that I enjoy. I also like to garden. I think there's a famous quote in the now old movie Steel Magnolias referencing women in the South and how we should dig in the dirt and grow things. I like to do that, I'll admit. Now, for me, it's not vegetables and fruits. It tends to be flowers and really just it's more for the beauty of it all. I'm still trying to figure out how to tame the squirrels and the deer, though. So it's a constant battle for me in terms of how we can all just mutually get along when it comes in those endeavors. So those are the things I love to do. I also love to get away, so travel's fun. Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to an opportunity coming up where I'm going to get a little bit of time near a beach. Now, I don't get a lot in the direct sun. Got to take care of the skin, but there's something about the soothing waves, hearing that, and just the slower pace of a setting like that that really also recharges me.
As you mentioned earlier, I know you're a big fan of UGA football.
Yeah.
What's your favorite memory regarding that since stepping into this position as dean?
Okay, now there's a couple. Again, I'm going to do that little privilege thing. I'm going to talk about two. One was the 2018 Rose Bowl. Number one, because just not even envisioning that at some point UGA would have the opportunity to go to the Rose Bowl. Now, if you'd asked me at halftime, I would have not have been putting this at the high point of my memories because we weren't faring very well as a team, but we were starting to come back. So by the end of the game, it was fabulous. Several overtimes, those sorts of things. Great experience. The following game, then when we came back to Atlanta, I was here, we played Alabama, and they really ripped our hearts out in overtime again. So that was a low point, but then coming back to 2022, when we have the opportunity to take on, or 2021-22, and take on Alabama and defeat them, and then moving on to TCU and taking them down the next year too. So the redemption cycle, I guess it's something about this says high stakes get me really excited, but seeing the teams kind of come together and grow and develop and then perform at a high level, it's kind of fun to be, we're number one.
That is very fun.
Well, now that you've had a bit of fun with me, I think it's time for the audience to have a little bit of fun with you, but more importantly, getting to know you more and what your experience is as a PharmD student here at UGA. Are you up for the challenge?
Hit me.
All right, I love it. All right, so this is a quote softball question. Why pharmacy?
Well, I'm from Georgia, and I kind of landed on UGA when I was looking through all the majors, and I saw pharmaceutical sciences, and I was kind of surprised because I'd never really seen that on any other college that I was applying to. It was never really an option. And I always knew I wanted to go into healthcare, so I decided that'd be a great first stepping stone. And when I got here, I think what really cemented staying in the program was all of the informational sessions and all of the different, I guess, facets you could do with pharmacy. I wasn't really expecting that, but I was really glad that they were presented to me in such an easy to understand way, and it made me kind of see my future in pharmacy a little more, and it kind of cemented that. But I also started wanting to do a bit more, and that's when I learned about our PharmD program. And I was still on the fence, but then I learned about our 7-year program, which I think is really fun because I'm in it, but it allowed me to get both my BS and my PharmD in 7 years as opposed to a 6-year path or an 8-year path, which is what I was kind of debating between. And I think I'm really happy with my decision. So I know I'm very happy with my decision, and it's been a wonderful time.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And you're probably a little jealous now that we have a 6-year pathway for that same model, but that's okay. You've got that extra year, another year of UGA. Never a bad thing, am I right?
Never.
Excellent. Wonderful. Well, you've alluded to this a little bit, but are there some favorite parts of your experience here as a PharmD student?
This might sound a little cheesy, but I think I'm going to say all of the relationships I've made since starting pharmacy school. I remember sitting down at orientation my P1 year, and every single person who came to spoke to us kind of repeat the same thing. And I keep hearing it to this day, and it's that the world of pharmacy is small and you will constantly be running into the same people. And I'm kind of excited to think about the fact that the people that I'm with right now and the people who I've been meeting and will continue to meet, I'll see them again in a different phase of life or even like a few weeks down the road. It's very exciting to think about the fact that these are reoccurring people and I'll be able to build a relationship. And I have built relationships. And the people I spent all my days with and go to classes with are kind of the closest people in my life right now. So it's really exciting to be able to build that relationship and also look forward to what's going to happen when we actually all graduate and we all go our separate places, because I know that even though we're all going to be across the country, across the state, maybe even across the world, we'll still have that connection and that relationship, which will bring us back to each other and UGA to look back at and all of our fond memories.
You know, that warms my heart. But to build on that, then I'm curious then, as you mentioned, your community and the power of that, but yes, you will graduate one day. It's going to be a great day for you and for your family. Where do you think that's going to take, or where life will take you after graduation?
Well, when I started pharmacy, I've always kind of wanted to see myself going into a residency, specifically oncology. But when I got here, I found out about all of our different IPPEs and APPEs that we have to do, trying out, I guess, essentially each big field of pharmacy. So I promised myself that I wouldn't make a solid decision until I've tried everything at least once. So even though my heart's still kind of more towards pharmacy in the hospital and the residency, I'm still keeping my mind open.
Wonderful. Well, you know, I appreciate that, and just being open to that is powerful in your career. So, you know, I've enjoyed talking with you today. You've been very gracious to spend your time with us. The perspective of a student is so important in the work that we do here and certainly in PharmCast. So thank you for everything you've done to bring this episode to life.
Thank you so much, too. And before we wrap up this episode, I did want to ask you, why did you want to do this podcast, and what's your vision for it?
I felt that a podcast like this could continue to make those powerful connections that I talked about earlier. It's really important for people to see themselves in a variety of career opportunities, and people perhaps who've gone on to do great things and it may appear unattainable to our current students. So I wanted to show a bit of what people have gone through, why they've pursued the careers they have, and the opportunities that lie within there. This is going to be that behind the scenes look. It's going to make people accessible, real, but also having the chance to show off and tell our stories here at UGA. And all the great work that continues to be done, and we're part of that larger community that you've been talking about. So thanks for, again, letting me do this, for going on this ride, and for turning the tables a little bit when it comes to this episode of PharmCast. Thank you, Anvitha.
This has been so exciting, and I cannot wait to see what you do with PharmCast and how you have fun in your role as host. Before we say goodbye, is there anything you'd like to say to your audience?
I'm just going to say, hey, stick around. There's going to be more fun to come. And you never know when you might pick up a little pearl or nugget that will help you always be learning and progressing into your career.
Thank you so much for joining us, Dean Smith, and I hope you have a great day and can't wait to see more PharmCast.